So what we want to do as Universal Peace Federation is promote the recognition that the breakdown of families and the problems with marriage, there's external reasons, to change the culture, people not wanting to commit anymore so much, the fact that there's a tax break if you don't get married, or you can get more government benefits if you're not married, or the many different reasons that they haven't seen an inspiring example of a marriage. They come from a divorced family, so I don't want that. So there's many practical reasons, but we believe that there's an underlying spiritual problem that needs to be addressed, and that's the lack of God's presence in marriage. And so a spiritual problem needs a spiritual solution. And so what we want to do, especially as Universal Peace Federation, is how can we come up with a spiritual solution, but that's not just for one church or one religion or one denomination. Because we want to have a solution that is across all kinds of people, even people who are not necessarily particularly religious or part of a church, because God needs to heal all those people, all those situations. So spiritual change, in all the world's religious tradition, there's different methods, techniques, traditions, and ceremonies that we do to solve spiritual problems, right? To bring about change in the spiritual environment. We call this, in our unificationist perspective, we call it making conditions for change. Conditions that change. It's like creating an environment or circumstance where that makes it easier for things to change. So if we change the environment, then things can change more easily. So some of the examples when we talk about making spiritual conditions for change, the biggest, most obvious one is prayer, right? We pray. And we believe that our prayer makes things change. Now, just looking at it, so what? You're sitting here praying and that person over there is sick. How do we know that makes a difference? Well, we believe, and we know because we've seen also from experience. But making these spiritual conditions, like praying, like making offerings. In the Old Testament, they used to make offerings on like that, or fasting, or studying, or even when we make donations and tithes. It's not just about the money. It's about the giving, the spiritual condition that we're making. So all these actions we take, we believe, because we're spiritual beings, we live in a spiritual world, have significance beyond just the act of, I'm bowing my head and I'm saying words. It has more meaning than just that, because we live in a spiritual world and we're spiritual beings. So to solve the spiritual problems, we need spiritual actions, spiritual conditions that will make a difference. So that's what the blessing of marriage ceremony is about. Is how can we create a ceremony, spiritual condition that people can participate in that brings spiritual change. But it's not tied to being, you don't have to be a member of one of our church to do it. You just have to be able to engage in a relationship with God. So the blessing of marriage ceremony, Reverend Moon says this was the most important mission that Jesus called him to, was to bring the world together as one human family, particularly through the rededication of marriage and bringing marriage so that it brings God back into marriage and the family. So the marriage blessing rededication is the tool that God inspired Father and Mother Moon to use for bringing this kind of healing to the world. Because in order to have healthy families, you need to start with a healthy marriage. Healthy marriage is the foundation for a good, strong family. A good family is the foundation for a healthy world. God is the center of the husband-wife relationship. Then God can be present in the whole family, and that godly family can influence the world and bring God's will to all aspects of life, to the whole world. So this is a worldwide campaign to affirm that God is at the center of our marriage and our family. So I'm going to show just this quick Blessing America video about the process and the blessings in America and the hope that we have. BlessingAmerica.org is the website. Here's some quotes from that website. The marriage blessing is an opportunity for couples to renew or begin their marriage relationship through a new commitment to live purposefully for the world and for God. In response to the breakdown of traditional marriage in our world, the marriage blessing offers a path to build a world of stronger marriages and healthier families. By participating in this ceremony, couples become part of a worldwide community of blessed couples striving to embody God's true love and create a better world of family. So, just to outline the 6 different conditions. All of us have participated in the initial step of the spiritual condition to heal marriage. And that's when we've gone to events, and I know you've done it a number of times, all of us have, where you've gone to events and everyone, okay, let's, offer the holy juice or holy wine, and you take a little sip and pray together, right? You've done that, you do that as a couple, right? So that's the first step. And that's actually a condition to heal the fact that people don't value marriage anymore in our society. And so the more people we get, even to make that simple step of just saying, look, I'm joining the toast to raise up the value of the family. And we did, for a couple of years, we went around and a lot of people just, yes, I will toast to that. And some people, they used holy wine, we used holy juice most of the time. And just offering the word and the declaration of God that I believe in marriage. Marriage is a godly institution, and we want it to be successful, and we want it to be centered on God. That's the first step, and we're asking, getting people to participate all around. We have people just join naturally to participate there. But we know that the problem is a deep problem, and it's not just going to be a bunch of people saying, "Yeah, I think marriage is a good idea," is going to solve it. So actually, there's 5 other more deeper steps. The next is actually doing a rededication ceremony where we get together, like you saw in the video. People get dressed up, nice, and the rededication ceremony is about moving our marriage from, it's a marriage for ourselves, but we're proclaiming and rededicating our marriage in a very positive way. Our marriage, we've already committed to taking it to the next level. And to proclaim to the world that we're committed to marriage as the ideal for building peace in the world. So that's the second, that's rededication ceremony. And right now we haven't done any in Sacramento, but they've been doing them in the Bay Area. And we should do some at your church. Have your families do a rededication ceremony. Now you can decide the level that you want, but so that's the next step. And we pray, and we bless these families. And we ask them to dedicate their marriage. Many of them probably already have dedicated their marriage to serve the larger community. I mean, it's obvious that you're a couple. I see you couples. I know you're out there doing things for the sake of God and the world. But asking people to participate, and we can set an example. Let's dedicate our marriage not just for us, but it's for us, for the world. So that's the rededication ceremony. And part of that, of course, is making a donation. Because one of the big challenges in finances in marriage relations. Satan attacks through money all the time. And couples fighting over money and who's spending or whatever. By making a donation, to God, you're supporting, of course, the work of UPF, but you're also offering your heart to God, saying, yes, this means something to me. It's more than just, I'm saying something. My money is saying, that I'm making a donation, concrete. And that donation can be any size. But it's the heart that's what's most important. And then there's the next is called the chastening ceremony, where it's a symbolic ceremony that to end domestic violence. Because domestic violence is, violence between husband and wife is a terrible, terrible thing. And so they symbolically, you have like one of these styrofoam bats, and you hit your spouse 3 times, symbolically saying, that ends the end. I'm never going to hit or hurt, my partner ever. And making that promise to address the problem of domestic violence. And that I'm rededicating my marriage, and I'm promising to God, and I'm promising to the world, no violence between husband and wife. We have to use our words, right, to solve problems. And then there's a 40-day fast. Because everybody should do a 40-day fast. Actually, I'm not talking about a food fast, though. This is a 40-day fast of abstinence. Because what we want to do is we want to reclaim also sex for God. One of the challenges is that sexuality has been, Satan has been able to work through that so much. I mean, just recently I went to a conference on pornography, and it's just horrific how Satan is attacking our young people through pornography. Sex is meant to, it's a very powerful force. God made it that way, but it's meant to be bringing husband and wife together. But because, we came together and all kinds of things, so a 40-day fast is a 40-day fast of abstinence. It means I won't have husband-wife sexual relationship for 40 days. Of course, if you're single, we're expecting that you're already being abstinent. We're praying that you are. But for married couples rededicating, okay, for 40 days, we're going to behave as brother and sister, like Adam and Eve should have behaved in the Garden of Eden. And we'll love each other and care for each other without the sexual component, and just kind of shape our relationship. And this is especially helpful for younger couples where, okay, my own self-control, how can I do things that make my spouse happy, but we're taking the sex part out of it. And then after making that 40-day fast, that 40-day condition, we're asking people then to do a 3-day ceremony of sexual relationship where you pray before you come together and have sexual relationship. What this is this is symbolic. The more people we can get to participate, and this is kind of advanced, but the more people who can participate that, we believe God can claim that. How many people, how many marriages are broken because of the lack of ability to overcome their sexual desire? How many marriages are destroyed because the sexual relationship is all just selfishness, and going away from what should be the most beautiful harmony between husband and wife. It comes away as something, I feel like I was used or whatever. So even if the couple that's participating in this rededication ceremony doesn't have a problem like that, but by making that condition and doing this prayerfully, I believe God can use that to affect marriages all around the world. And the more people that are praying for true love in marriages, are praying for faithfulness and fidelity in marriage, are praying for self-control in marriages, and for fulfillment and joy, living for the sake of others in marriage, then we can really see the fulfillment of what God hopes to see in marriage, and we can see a transformation of the world. So these, if you think about it, do I have it here? But the different points of the 5 points from the Universal Peace Federation, the first thing, God, we need to bring God back into marriages and get people to acknowledge that this is not just a contract that I made with the government and with another person. No, this is a covenant I made with God at the center. The second, spirituality. Bringing spirituality into the marriage relationship, husband-wife relationship. And that we really focus on the spiritual needs of each other and the love, and cultivate that true love, a higher spirituality in the husband-wife relationship. And then the third is the family. Of course, focusing on the value of the family, and that our marriage is the condition, is the preparation for creating a true family that can bless the world. And then the fourth one is service, that we live for the other, for our partner. Instead of, how can I get more? How can I bring joy to my spouse? How can my spouse bring joy to me? And that kind of service in the family relationship. And then last, cooperation and communication. That's what we need in families. Right? So this whole Blessing of Marriage project and the effort to bring about this change in the spiritual atmosphere in the world, of God's presence in the world, is we want to bring God, spirituality, the value of family, the importance of living for the sake of others, and cooperation back into marriage. And that by doing that, we can revive marriage, revive the family, and revive our society and world with not selfishness at the center, but with God at the center.